She was 11 years old, she had never harmed anyone, and she died forgiving the man who killed her. The man who stabbed her spent 27 years in prison, and then appeared at the door of her mother's home to ask forgiveness. This is the story of Maria Goretti, a child of crushing poverty, a martyr before her 12th birthday, and one of the most improbable stories of forgiveness the modern church has ever witnessed. Maria Teresa Goretti was born on October 16, 1890, in Corinaldo, a hilltop village in the Marche region of central Italy. Her father, Luigi Goretti, was a sharecropper, a man who worked land he would never own, keeping only a fraction of what he grew. Her mother, Assunta, was the anchor of the family's faith. The family was desperately poor, but by all accounts deeply devout. And the youngest daughter absorbed her mother's faith, the way she absorbed everything around her. Quietly, completely. In search of better wages, Luigi moved the family south, eventually to the Pontine Marshes near Nettuno, a flat, fever-ridden expanse of reclaimed land along the Lazio coast. There, the Gorettis shared a farmhouse at a place called La Ferriere with another family, the Serenellis, a father and his adult son, Alessandro. The precise details of daily life at La Ferriere come down to us largely through family testimony. But what every account agrees on is the grinding labor, the isolation, and the malaria that haunted those marshes. In 1900, malaria claimed Luigi Goretti. His daughter was 9 years old. Assunta, left with 6 children and a work contract she could not abandon, held the family together through sheer will. Maria Goretti had no conversion in the classical sense, no sudden turn, no crisis of faith resolved. She was raised in the faith, and she simply never left it. What her story has instead is a moment of deepening, her preparation for First Holy Communion, the central sacrament of Catholic life, in which Catholics believe they receive Christ himself in the consecrated bread. Because the family had moved frequently and she had received little formal schooling, her catechesis, her formal religious instruction, came late. She worked at it with unusual intensity. The exact date of her first communion is sometimes given as June of 1902, weeks, possibly days before her death, though the precise date is not confirmed in all sources. Those who knew her described it as a moment she had longed for, not as a ritual to complete, but as something she understood as deeply, personally real. Maria Goretti left behind no writings, no founded institutions, no missionary journeys. She was 12 years old when she died. What she did, and what the church would eventually hold up as her witness, was the daily, unremarkable work of a child keeping a household alive. With her mother working the fields, she kept the house, cooking, minding her younger siblings, managing what little the family had. It is worth being honest here. The thin record of her daily life is drawn almost entirely from her family's own recollections, not external accounts, not church documents, just the memory of people who loved her. What the record does preserve clearly is this. Alessandro Serenelli, 19 years old, had been directing increasingly threatening attention toward her, attention she consistently and firmly refused. Accounts describe her as not naive, but clear-headed, a girl who understood what was being asked of her and refused it on moral grounds, telling Alessandro directly that what he wanted was a sin. Whether she confided her fear to her mother is not clearly established in the record. What is certain is that she faced those months largely alone. On July 5, 1902, while her mother and the other workers were in the fields, Alessandro came for her. When she refused him and threatened to tell her mother, he stabbed her 14 times with an awl. She was found by neighbors and rushed to a hospital in Nettuno. She survived through the night of July 5th and into the morning of the 6th. Tradition holds that in those final hours, Maria forgave Alessandro, that she told the attending priest she wished for him to be with her in paradise. Witness accounts, including those of the priest and physician present, preserve this moment, though the exact words vary slightly across sources. Maria Goretti died on July 6, 1902. She was 11 years old, 12 by some reckonings, as her birthday fell in October. Alessandro Serenelli was sentenced to 30 years in prison. But that was not the end of the story. Tradition holds that in 1910, 8 years into his sentence, Alessandro Serenelli experienced a vision of Maria appearing to him and offering him white lilies. He described this in written testimony submitted during her canonization process. He requested to see the prison chaplain the following morning and made his confession, a formal sacramental act of repentance in the Catholic faith. He spent the remainder of his sentence in what those around him described as genuine remorse. After his release, he went to Assunta Goretti, Maria's mother, and asked for her forgiveness. Tradition holds that she gave it, The two then received communion together at Christmas Mass. Tradition also holds that Alessandro attended both Maria's beatification in 1947 and her canonization in 1950, publicly testifying to his conversion before the very church that was honoring the girl he had killed. Pope Pius XII canonized Maria Goretti on June 24, 1950, before what is reported as one of the largest crowds ever assembled for a canonization. Her mother Assunta was present, one of the very few parents in church history to witness a child's canonization. She is patron of rape victims, sexual assault survivors, young women, and those who have suffered at the hands of violence, a list that speaks less to triumph than to solidarity with the wounded. Maria Goretti's feast day is July 6th. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next saint on the calendar.